When I first played Chapter 4, I noticed something that I've never seen anyone else talk about before, and it was teased in Chapter 4, 3, and even back in Chapter 2. If we take a look at this new image on Mob's page, we can actually see how massive the prototype really is. Looking at his hand, it already is placed about where the height of the player would be, and if we trace the path of his whole arm back to where his shoulders would be, they would be placed somewhere around here. Then we can place the head on top, and we have a rough estimate of how tall the prototype could very likely be. We can also estimate how wide the prototype's body would be just by looking at the photo itself, because we know the prototype has 6 legs in total, so these back legs right here are going to be the full width. So now we have a rough estimate of all of the prototype's dimensions, but what am I even trying to prove here? Well, if we take a look at the latest 3 chapters of the game, you start to notice a pattern with the prototype's movement. How is he fitting into such small places with his body being so large? Well, here's where my actual theory comes into play, because I think the prototype can actually remove parts of its body and control it separately from the main part of its body. And you can really see how I can see this the more chapters you go back. In Chapter 4, when Kissy pulls us into the crevice, we can see the prototype's shadow walking by. But if we actually take a look at the hull itself, it seems pretty small for its entire body to be fitting in there. Now, I know this isn't very much evidence, but that's because we haven't even reached Chapter 3 yet, and this is where you can actually start to see a pattern. In Chapter 3, the power goes off when we're in the gas production zone, presumably because the prototype destroyed the generator under the statue. But how would the prototype even get down there? Because to even get down there, you'd have to squeeze through this tiny human-sized doorway, and the prototype is definitely not that small. Now, it could very well have been caused by Catnap, Mr. Light, or maybe the Smiling Critters, but these last 2 pieces of evidence are undeniable. Looking at Chapter 3 again, at the end we can see the prototype reaching his hand out through this tiny hatch in the ceiling. And I don't even have to say it, but the prototype can definitely not fit in there. And besides that, how is he even bending down all the way with those giant legs? It's just not possible unless he's removing parts of his body. Now, this last one is the one that really sold me on this theory, is that in Chapter 2, it's kind of the same as Chapter 3, where he was in this tiny little hallway, his hand was all the way to the ground, and the thing that I really noticed is that you can't hear his giant footsteps in the hall. But in Chapter 2, we don't hear that at all. I don't know about you guys, but I'm definitely 100% sold with this theory. It would make for a great boss fight too. I mean, imagine with like every new stage, the prototype removes a part of his body and starts attacking you from a different angle. I mean, there's just too much evidence to deny this, and I'm surprised that nobody else has even talked about this. Do you guys believe this theory? Let me know in the comments.